Yo, plant-based buddies, here's another video. Usually I get the inspiration for making my videos from questions that I've gotten throughout the day, and I feel so bad for my patients that I don't spend that much time explaining these things, so I find solace into knowing that they can watch these videos. Just keep in mind, if you're my patient, that we are usually booked every 10 to 15 minutes, okay? It's almost impossible to practice good medicine in that long. Now, if someone would say, well, then why don't you just book 30-minute appointments? Well, that means that I can see maybe 4, 5, 6 patients per half day. And that means that now, instead of having a 2-month wait, my patients have a 6-month wait to see me. I still have the same 1,000 patients that I need to help. So there's a fine balance between finding the time to see as many patients as you can, providing a good service, but also trying to make sure that your wait list is not too long. So that's kind of, there's not enough doctors, and that's the issue we're having now, is that I have a 2-month wait to have an appointment with me, and I try to give as much time as I can to my patients, but I'm always looking at the clock, knowing that there's a bunch of people waiting for me in the wait room. So this is my way of apologizing to anyone if I always seemed rushed when you see me. I'd love to spend 25 minutes with you explaining what fatty liver is and what hypertension is and how you can reduce your insulin resistance with nutrition. The thing is, we just don't have the time. If I would have the time, my patients would wait 6 months, and I am always putting out fires. Every day there's someone who gets bad news, a cancer diagnosis, someone who needs urgent transfusions organized, someone who has an abnormal blood test that needs to call. So it's really, we're caught between a rock and a hard place when it comes to trying to offer good service in a timely manner while trying to prevent conditions, so AKA why I'm here. So today someone asked me about how do we define a food being healthy or not. One of the ways that we study nutrition is through substitution analysis, and I'll explain what that means in a minute. But in short, it's tough to put medication in a pill or food in a pill and test it like we do with medication. Medication is simple. I'll give you a pill, I'll give you, in a study, I'll give you a pill, I'll give you a placebo. You don't know which one is which. Even so, the patient that takes it doesn't even know. We can check on a lot of people and give it to a lot of people and kind of see what the placebo effect is, but also if there's any benefits to this medication. Now, if your blood pressure gets lower by 10 points with the medication, that's great. But if it goes lower by 11 points with the placebo, then you know that all along it was a placebo effect. Placebo effect is the fact of self-care and the concept of taking your health in your own hands. It can be upwards of 30% in some people, meaning that taking a sugar pill for cholesterol might lower your cholesterol. Taking a placebo pill for cholesterol might lower your cholesterol because it sets off a chain of events in your mind that is related to self-care and prioritizing your health and leads to other changes in behaviors down the road that you weren't even aware that you were making. And that's a highly studied concept. I'm not throwing this out there as a hocus pocus medicine. I'm saying the placebo effect is very, very, very well studied. What I'm saying is that we can't test food against placebo. The only ones that we can are spices because they can be tightly packed into a capsule and tested against placebo. And that's how we test turmeric and ginger and other types of potent spices. But for food, it needs to be done very often through, it's not the only way, but very often through what we call substitution analysis. So we take someone who is eating a certain food and we substitute that food for a new one, and we see if there's benefits. I'll give you an example. If you take processed meats and we substitute them for red meats, health parameters get better. That doesn't make red meat healthy. It makes them healthier than the food before. If we take white meat and we take people who eat red meat and we replace it with white meat, their health parameters get better. Not because white meat is healthy, because it's healthier than the red meat. So you see where I'm going, where we have on the spectrum ultra-processed foods, processed meats, red meats, white meats, fish, dairy, and eggs. And then we have a whole plants, which are nuts, seeds, legumes, fruits and veggies, and whole grains. Where it stops getting better is in the whole plant foods kingdom. If you take someone who gets most of their calories from red meat and you replace it with eggs or dairy and fish, their parameters get better. That doesn't mean that eggs, dairy, and fish are healthy. It means they're healthier than red meat. And the same thing goes for whole plants. If you take patients that get their 3 times a week, they eat fatty fish, which is a great source of protein and omega-3, but you replace that with tofu, or other legumes like chickpeas, lentils, and beans, their health parameters get better. So I don't know if you can catch my drift here, but what I'm saying is that substitution analysis shows if foods are healthier than the ones they're replacing. So I'll give you another example, olive oil. People say, hey, olive oil is healthy, right? In a perfect world, you probably don't even need olive oil. All the nutrients in olive oil can be found in whole plants. Olive oil is very calorie dense. It maybe is contributing to excess calories in those that consume it liberally, or do it at an excess. It's not a matter of is olive oil healthy or not. The question is now substitution analysis, where we have people cooking with fat from butter or lard. If they replace, or coconut oil, and if they replace these fats with olive oil, they get healthier. So that's how we determine what is healthy and what is not. I'll give you an example again. Are eggs healthy? Eggs have a lot of good things. They have high protein, a lot of micronutrients. Some are even contain healthy fats. Seems like a good deal, right? So if you give someone who's eating bacon and ham for breakfast and you substitute that with eggs, their health gets better, their parameters get better. But if you take someone who's eating eggs and you replace their eggs with oatmeal, their health parameters get better. And that's how we fit food on a spectrum of health. Each individual food is not good or bad inherently. It's simply, you can always be a little bit better by eating foods that are later later on the spectrum. So what I'm saying is that if your spectrum is ultra processed food, red meat, ultra processed food, processed meat, then red meat, then white meat, then fish, dairy, and eggs, then whole plants, just by eating more foods going this way, you get healthier. Even inside of the whole plants spectrum, there are healthier foods. They're measured by what we call the ANDI score, which is the Aggregate Nutrient Density Index. ANDI score shows that not all foods are made equal. I'll give you an example. Iceberg lettuce, super healthy, low calories, micronutrients, right on. Everyone should eat more lettuce. But if you compare iceberg lettuce to kale or to spinach, these are much more nutrient dense and typically considered to be healthier, right? If you look at berries and you compare them to bananas, berries typically have more micronutrients, more fiber, more polyphenols, and are typically healthier than bananas. I eat like 2 bananas per day. It's not that bananas are unhealthy, it's that blueberries and certain fruits are further along the ANDI score spectrum. What promotes health is basically simple. Eat whole foods that are minimally processed as much as you can. Eat foods that are diverse in nature, so that you're exposing your gut microbiome to a whole different families of fiber, because plant diversity leads to gut microbiome diversity, and gut microbiome diversity leads to the production of a diverse or multiple different compounds that get reabsorbed in your blood and that promote health. So kale is super healthy, but if you eat only kale every day, you're going to be not having a wide nutrient profile, which means that certain vitamins are going to be lacking in your diet. And also, your gut microbiome is going to suffer because it's always getting the same fiber. And so you favor growth of one species of microbiome, of gut microbiota, instead of having thousands of them. So in a perfect world, if I'd have to summarize what a healthy dietary pattern looks like, it is a dietary pattern that would contain about 80 to 85% of your calories, your daily calories, from whole, unprocessed foods. It would be getting 30 to 40 different types of colors or different types of plants per week to ensure microbiome diversity. It would be making sure that you get sufficient plant protein and sufficient fiber. If you're doing that, the other things will typically fall into place. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't have eggs, or that you can't have red meat, or that you can't have ultra-processed food. It simply means that if you're consuming 80% of your calories from whole plant foods, and a diversity of them in favoring or prioritizing plant protein, your health parameters will be so much better. Your gut will be so strong that you can and you could be able to eat less healthy foods here and there with almost zero impacts. Another funny example, eating blueberries after smoking a cigarette blunts a big part of the inflammatory response of smoking. That doesn't mean I'm going to tell people to smoke zero. It's called a harm reduction strategy. And if you're going to smoke, it's better for you to smoke while you're on a healthy diet, right? Things compound over time. And if you eat a lot of ultra-processed foods, a lot of red meat, processed meats, white meats, or foods that are typically on the beginning unhealthier side of the spectrum, and behaviors like lack of activity, obesity, lack of sleep, lack of purpose or purposeful activities, these are all things that compound over time, over decades, and contribute to our chronic disease epidemic. Right on. I hope that makes sense. No food is inherently good or bad. The dose makes the poison. How much are you using these foods that are unhealthier? And exposure levels over time. So are you using these foods at high dose, meaning eating high quantities over time? That's called your exposure level, and that determines your risk. Having cake here and there is not unhealthy if it's done as part of a healthy dietary pattern. Now, I choose to get 100% of my calories from foods that are right here, whole plant foods with a great variety. I focus on plant protein, and I do it for my health, but I also do it for ethical reasons, for the planet, for the animals, and that those are my reasons. Now, if you choose to say I'm going to be a flexitarian, meaning that I'm going to be eating mostly plants, but some red meat here and there, and some processed meat and ultra-processed food here and there, that's much better than the standard Canadian diet. If you're going to eat a Mediterranean diet, which is a plant-predominant diet that includes fish, right on, good for you. You'll probably improve your health parameters. I am an obsessive, intense person, as you will probably know by just listening to me talk. And I decided to push it all the way and to try to squeeze that lemon until every drop falls. That's not a good analogy. I don't think so. Anyways, you get the point. Get most of your calories from whole plants. Not the end of the world if you're eating not plants sometimes. It is if you're wanting to push your benefits to the limit and get the full potential out of a plant-based diet. Cool. All right. I hope that makes sense. Different types of studies are used: prospective cohort studies, substitution analysis, randomized controlled trials. A lot of different studies can be used in nutrition, but the substitution analysis, where we replace one food with the other, helps us put foods on a spectrum. At some point, you can't replace foods with something better. Nothing changes in the patient's health. That's why I always say it's not a matter of eggs are unhealthy or healthy, or milk is unhealthy or healthy. It's a matter of you can always find healthier foods further down the spectrum. It's about making small changes over time that will accumulate by substituting foods from this side of the spectrum with foods on this side of the spectrum, and just making it second nature. Making sure that you can make micro choices daily that don't impede with your social life and cause too much friction is probably the best evidence-based way of transitioning sustainably on a healthier diet. Coolio! If you've watched this video till the end, please press like. As I repeat every time, I do not count likes. I do not care for likes. I care for knowing who's watching my video till the end. I see some videos getting 500 views and getting 40 likes. That means that some of you are not pressing the button. And all I'm asking is that for the time that I invest in making these videos, press the damn button. It shows me who is watching. And I know that some of you want to remain anonymous, and that's cool. That's okay. I respect that. It's just that I make sure I know who's watching and who's not, and who's liking and who's not, and who's commenting and who's not. And these are the ones that I will prioritize answering their questions. Sorry if I don't get to all of your questions. I got a lot on my plate. All right, cool. I'm gonna go see my kids now. All right, cool. Peace out.